What is up, Earthnoids and Space Noids? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode, we are heading back to the Grips conflict as we dive into the manga Mobile Suit Gundam Wearwolf. In this episode, we head back to the tipping point of the Grips conflict in UC-0087. We meet the Space Force's Hecate as they are assigned a top secret mission. We will learn that the majority of the team is killed, and we find out what drove the entire crew to madness. So let's get into this. The Titans began their reign over the Space Noids under the guise of hunting out anti-EFF organizations. It reaches a breaking point and the AUG is formed. While the AUG and Titans begin fighting, the Zeon remnants of Axis begin making their way back to the Earth sphere. Soon, the battle will become a three-front war. During this time, the Pegasus-class ship, the Hecate, is in the midst of a battle in the Shoal Zone near the dark side of the moon. There is absolutely no information about the Hecate, but it looks exactly like the Albion and is most likely an MSC line of Pegasus-class ships. Since the Special Forces group doesn't exist, I assume the ship doesn't exist anywhere on paper either. Their team of Marasais are getting hit. The ship gets hit with a megaparticle cannon on the port side. Their entire second team has been wiped out. They didn't expect to get a surprise attack from the AUG on the dark side of the moon. The Hecate Executive Officer, Lieutenant Commander Okarini Ward, calls the anti-EFF remnants bastards. The captain of the Hecate, Commander Lycus Freyberg, wonders if they know of their mission. The Hecate Mobile Suit Squad leader, Lieutenant Robinson Stryker, is piloting the Pale Rider D2. The RX-80PR-4 Pale Rider D2 was designed by Augusta Labs. This unit was considered to be a replacement for the GM Quail for the Titans. This is developed from the Pale Rider de Lahan. It is kind of weird that we are talking about a version of the Pale Rider without ever talking about the original Pale Rider. We need to get back to covering Missing Link, Rise from the Ashes, and other popular one-year war stories. The V-fin was removed and replaced with goggle eyes. It is equipped with a pair of Vulcans, two beam sabers stored in the backpack, the XBR M79H2 Hyper Beam Rifle, which is the same rifle used by Unit 4, and a shield. It has a special weapon called the Shekinah, which is a giant Gatling gun, a mega beam launcher, and a micro missile launcher, which Voltrons together into one weapon. He is with one subordinate in a Marasai. He happens to spot a new model with a golden sheen. This is the Hyakushiki Kai mass production type. The MSR 00100S Hyakushiki Kai mass production type is a modified variant of the Hyakushiki Kai. The mass-produced variant removed the wing binders and replaced it with a 6-tube multi-purpose launcher, which brought down the cost. Other weapons include an I-Field beam saber, the BRM-87 beam rifle, and the AE ZIM-C Baz 531 300mm clay bazooka. The Hyakushiki Kai takes down the Marasai. Back on the ship, one test pilot is frustrated that he is put on standby. This is Lieutenant J.G. Rasaid Glendon. They can't afford to lose a test pilot and a prototype, so he has to remain on standby. He throws his comm device. He thinks the prototype should be used in situations like this. The prototype is covered in a tarp. The thrusters on the Hecate are malfunctioning, but they have to push it to its full potential. They go full speed and deploy a beam dispersal screen. This looks similar to how the nukes work in Cosmic Era 71 during the attack on Alaska. Although not nuclear powered, this seems to arc a beam towards the debris and shoots it out of the way, clearing a temporary path. Things get bumpy on the ship. Mobile Suit pilot Ensign Kurkata Muasato gets hit in the head by something. It happens to be a Hato. The Hecate pushes through the debris, leaving the Hyakushiki in the dust, literally. Their thrusters are busted, so they escaped in a direction they didn't necessarily want. Rasaid looks at a picture of him and his best friend. Several days later, they make it to the outer edge of the lunar orbit. Kurkata is arguing with Ensign Valu Kidu about how stupid it is to push through in their current state. They are now adrift out in space. Robinson comes in and tells them that it is Command's duty to figure out a plan. Their job is to be ready to fight at a moment's notice. They talk about Paptimus Sirocco working with Axis. Rasaid is hanging out in the back, and he says that once they finish off the AU, they will just turn on one another. Robinson wonders if they could use the prototype for diplomatic reasons. Rasaid slams his hands down and yells if he was able to sortie, Wahila wouldn't have died. He goes to check on maintenance. Kurkata tells the team that Rasaid and Wahila were comrades before they were assigned to the Hecate, so it is understandable that he is upset about losing his comrade. Ensign Letta Shia is there as well. On the bridge, Ocarinu reports that they have lost all of their Marusais during the last battle. They only have 3 reserve Pale Rider D2s to work with. They lost a bunch of mobile suits, but their mobile suit team is still strong. The problem is that during the attack, they lost 3 security personnel, 1 engineer, and all of the technicians who were on loan from New Type Labs. Wow, it sucks to be them. Those New Type Lab techs should have watched that one scene from Clerks.
My friend here is trying to convince me that any independent contractors who were working on the uncompleted Death Star were innocent victims when it was destroyed by the rebels.
Lycus wonders if testing the Gundam is out of the question. Ocarina wonders if she meant the werewolf. The perfectly timed attack, the heavy Minovsky particle dispersion. It feels like they knew about their location and their intentions. Lycus realizes the Titans aren't the monoliths they thought they were. There's too much secretive things happening that Bask seems to keep to himself. She finds that even the name werewolf leaves a bad taste in her mouth. Ocarina mentions that it is a beast that mimics a human, someone hiding amongst them, waiting to devour. Lycus finds him attractive as he talks about werewolves. Nice. Rasaid is mad and wants to launch the prototype. They don't have too many mobile suits to work with. One Hecate tech mentions that a New Type Lab tech needs to sign off before the prototype can be used, and all the New Type Lab techs are dead, so Rasaid is out of luck. Bureaucracy at its finest. Hecate's mechanic, Petty Officer First Class Talbot, tells him that the captain doesn't want anyone tampering with the Gundam. Rasaid goes to talk to the captain directly. Ensign Leto comes over and asks why Rasaid didn't choose another mobile suit. He could have launched in a Marusai, but he seems so fixated on the new Gundam. Rasaid was just a kid during the 1-year war. He would often wake up in a panic, having multiple nightmares about a colony dropping on him. He heard legends about the exploits of the legendary Gundam. Then he learned that Amado was just a kid like him. Leto wonders if it is admiration. He supposes so, but he also saw the Gundam as someone that protects their home. He sees himself as a wolf trying to protect his ship, which is his home. He believes in the power of the Gundam. He finds himself embarrassed for saying such things. Leto comes in closer. Ooh, this crew is horny. That is when they get a red alert. It is a squad of Gaza Seas followed by what looks like a Guadon-class ship. It does have the gaudy-looking throne room like Haman's Guadon. Commanding the ship is the Axis Knight, Krat Nix. They prepare for a preemptive attack. He reminds his subordinate that now is not the time for chivalry. They will strike in the shadows if they must. He tells his men to prepare for a wolf hunt. Several months later, during the final stages of the Grips War, a tribunal is commencing at Titan's number 13 secret chambers. So the Titans have a chamber of secrets? Watching a little too much Harry Potter on Green Noah 1? A man in a straitjacket with his head completely covered is giving a testimony. He talks about how they came under attack by Axis. This is the only survivor of the ship. They want to know what happened to the Hecate afterwards. He says that so many people died. The tribunal wonders if it was Axis or the Ayug. He says it was nothing like that. It was something from within. Someone that they thought they could trust. A wolf disguised as a human. The man begins crying. Or woman. I'm going to refer to it as a man for now. The Hecate launches the remaining mobile suit team. The Pale Riders begin fighting when they run into a new mobile suit. It is a Gallus G. At this time, they don't have any data on this mobile suit. The Gallus J will become Mashimer's mobile suit of choice during Double Zeta, but it is currently just a prototype. The AMX 101G Gallus G is bulkier than the Gallus J, but it contains the same armaments as its predecessors. It is equipped with a 2-tube missile pod, finger launchers, an energy gun, and the same beam rifle used by the Hyzak and Marusai after Axis took control of these units. It goes in and punches Krokata's Pale Rider. Krat Nix is bored that they aren't sending out their prototype. Rasaid gets into the prototype Gundam. On the battlefield, the Gallus G is doing some damage when Rasaid comes in with the Gundam Wearwolf. This manga is so new that there isn't really any data on the unit yet. Most data comes from GUNPLA marketing, so we need a push for Wearwolf GUNPLA. Also, I think the fact that the Gundam is a mystery actually helps with the narrative as it keeps the audience wondering. Robinson starts to yell at Rasaid for bringing out the prototype, but he tells him to save his complaining for later and to get the hell out of there. The Gundam sends out some weird bits to form a triangle. It sends out a beam and destroys the Gallus G. Nix gets a good look at the Gundam. He underestimated the unit and calls for a retreat. They recover Kokata in his escape pod. Lycus finds the Gundam both beautiful and ominous at the same time. Inside the Gundam, Rasaid's confidence is through the roof. The Gundam is running an OS called Gundam WW. When he gets back to the Hecate, Talbot apologizes for activating the Gundam, but Robinson and everyone seems to be cool with it considering he saved their lives. Inside the prototype, they are getting no response from the pilot. They send in a medical team. A part of this team is Medical Officer Marit Navreen. They open the hatch from from the outside to find that Rasaid is dead. This wasn't a mobile suit attack. It wasn't an accident. This looks like a murder. Possibly the first murder to happen within a mobile suit cockpit. But how? This is just the beginning of the madness. Before getting into this, many of you have mentioned that Wearwolf suspiciously looks like Gundam Mark IV, and the similarities are too close to ignore, so let's break it down. The ORX-012 Gundam Mark IV originally debuted in the SD Gundam Generation games. It was built off the data of the Mark III and developed by Augusta Labs. It is equipped with Incom, a quasi-Psychomu weapon that was flawed, but laid the foundation for the Mark V. This sounds eerily similar to the WW system in Wearwolf. This system controls wired funnels. Other weapons include a beam saber, beam rifle, and a shield. As the crew looks over Rasaid's body, they are confused as to what happened. Ajak Anjin, the Hekate doctor, comes in to help, but he is dead. There's nothing he could do. He takes his body to do an autopsy. Lieutenant Robinson helps carry the body out onto a stretcher. Ajak finds a bullet wound. Even though the cockpit was completely sealed, the doctor is way too excited about the mystery of it all. Ugh, doctors are tone deaf. Read the room. Medical officer Merritt Nevreen helps him. As everyone wonders what happened, Ensign Krakata bluntly states that he was shot by someone on their ship. Valley Kidu begins blaming P.O. Talbot as he was the only one to have access to the Gundam. He also knows that Rasaid bullied him. As they fight, Letta comes over and says, "Guys, we live in the future. We have logs for everything." They check the logs to find out that the hatch was only opened when Rasaid got in the Gundam and when the Hekate crew forced it open. It wasn't opened during the mission. There is, however, records of it being opened 11 hours ago, during their last downtime. This leads back to square one, as any one of the crew members could have been the one to open the hatch during downtime. Captain Lycus and Okarinu come to the hangar. They are put in a position where they have to travel back to the Earth sphere while fighting Neo Zeon, all while trying to solve this mystery. Her plan is to hold a democratic vote in 12 hours on who they believe is the suspect. The person with the most votes will be held in the brig until they could get EFF to investigate the situation. Valley continues talking shit to Talbot, but Okarinu gives him the death stare. Lycus goes to take a shower. After telling all of her crew members, Okarinu asks if this is the best path forward. She said this will merely create a scapegoat. They are currently at war and don't have anyone capable of conducting an investigation. A colony can be destroyed in the blink of an eye. She has no concern for one life in the grand scheme of things. Ogarino hands her a towel and notices that he is trembling. The artist makes Lycus look like one of the craziest people possible. Ogarino says, "I'm so turned on, but you are so crazy." Talbot goes to Leto's quarters. Her room looks like the mailroom and it's always sunny. She is trying to figure out the mystery, but she tells Talbot that he will be accused and hanged for this. Right now, Vali is most likely spreading rumors about him. Also, he is merely a mechanic and isn't an elite pilot. He could be replaced. Leto mentions that Rasaid also sexually harassed her. The first episode wasn't sexy then. She was most likely just going with it out of fear. Now I feel gross. She got close to Rasaid to try to gather evidence against him, but then he got himself killed. She is also a likely candidate to be hanged as well. Remember, this is the Titans, and they sacrifice others for the sake of their special ace pilots. They are like a Pennsylvania football team. They just throw everything under the rug. Leto wants Talbot to help her solve this case in the next 12 hours. In his Indra, Kratnix monitors the Hekate closely. In the hangar is the Gyan Kai. 10 hours until the vote. Leto and Talbot head to the infirmary. Ajak is doing an autopsy while eating what looks like an omaibo. What is up with Gundam mangas and omaibos? Talbot wonders how he could eat so casually while next to a dead body. Probably smells too. Ajak says the bullet was military standard, but what is even more interesting is that there is no gunpowder residue. Leto mentions that she smelled no gunpowder in the cockpit either. Talbot wonders if it was using railgun technology. This is easily accessible for most crew members to make as they use them in their mobile suit tech. If that were the case, that means they were trying to hide their tracks and this was all premeditated. The doctor says that all he knows is that the shot occurred after he landed. Ajax says he is expecting a dramatic solution, not shady at all. Merritt tells the doctor to have a little bit more tact. She hopes Talbot could find the culprit. Merritt and Talbot knew each other before becoming Hekate crew members. They grew up in the same town and never seen each other again until they were assigned to the Hekate Also, last episode, I said that Krokata was the one who found the Hado. It was actually Talbot, and it is tagging along with him. Ajax is still focused on the murder. Either someone spoofed the cams and logs to hide their traces, or there was some mechanism from the inside. The latter seems implausible, as Rasaid would have seen it. Suddenly, a random soldier comes yelling for Rasaid. This is Hecate operator Urume Fleur. She comes in screaming, saying that he promised they would be married and would have a life together. As Rasaid has been pulling this game on Leto as well, it seems it is merely another fling given false promises. They now have another suspect. But if she is guilty, then she just put on one hell of a show. Talbot wants to question her, but Leto knows they won't get any answers. She says, "Oh my dear Talbot." They instead go to Rasaid's quarters to find Robinson Stryker. She is standing guard as Arume is threatening to file complaints, as she thinks she is entitled to Rasaid's stuff. Robinson feels bad for looking a blind eye when Rasaid was harassing Talbot, so they let him look into the room. Robinson feels bad as he has always felt like Rasaid's mentor. Leto finds a secret data file taped on the inside of the storage unit. She reads the file to find records of Rasaid trafficking drugs to EFF and Titan soldiers. Robinson feels even worse, as he truly didn't know the real Rasaid. They have to head out in the Gundam. Lycus allows them to head out, but Ocarino is skeptical as usual. She tells him that it is the murder scene, so it is only natural for them to want to investigate the scene of the crime. Meanwhile, Arume is emotionally distraught and she has a knife. 8 hours until the vote. Leto pilots the Gundam with Talbot and Hado, which is what this Hado goes by. Robinson is in the Pale Rider D2. Since Leto is still green, if the enemy approaches, she must head back to the ship as she has passengers. Robinson is amazed that she would even want to pilot the Gundam, as both Valley and Krokata think it is eerie. He feels as though the machine is a monster that took Rasaid's life, but Leto doesn't believe in that nonsense and wants to get to the facts. That is when they are attacked by Krat Nix and his Gyan Kai. The MS-15K Gyan Kai was originally introduced in SD Gundam G Generations. This unit was developed at Axis shipyards after the 1-year war. It is based off of the Gyan Krieger from Gihren's Greed. It specializes in high maneuverability and close combat, which was already the original Gyan's focus. It is on par with the Baowu, but like the original Gyan, it was very hard to manufacture and mass produce. Much of the data for this unit will live on in the Gazelle and Gazar. It is equipped with a large beam sword that flips out, and a shield, which also stores needle missiles. Krat Nix wants an honorable fight and attacks Robinson and the Pale Rider. He uses the needle missiles to incapacitate Robinson. On the Indra, Nix's right-hand man wonders why he is playing with the mobile suits. Krat Nix is attacking the Gundam. Leto notices that she is using its lance, which requires a linear attack. She is able to parry the lance. Leto has never seen this kind of power before. She thinks the Gyan is a monster, which is ironic considering most of her teammate thinks the Gundam is a monster. The Gundam goes down. Krat Nix goes in for an attack, but the Gundam takes out its beam saber and slices off the Gyan's leg. The Gyan tries to make its retreat, and Leto chases after. Robinson tells them to pull back. The cockpit is consumed by space. She sees a silhouette of someone holding a gun. Like Rasaid, she is shot. She says that she solved the mystery. Leto suddenly wakes up in the infirmary on board the Hecate. Haru and Talbot are next to her. She wants to know how they got back to the ship. Talbot is confused as it was her that piloted the mobile suit back. She also isn't wounded like Rasaid, but it felt real. Robinson wonders if she is a new type that unlocked something inside of her. He says bad news for the two. For one, they were passed out for 5 hours, which means they only have 3 hours left until the vote. Second, Robinson informs them that the data regarding Rasaid's drug trafficking has been stolen while they were out. Robinson puts the blame on himself. Crazy Arume is spying on them and laughing. Krat Nix's right-hand man is amazed that the Gundam was able to take off his Gyan leg. During this time, the Titans and Axis are currently allies against the Ayuk. Krat's mission goes against their treaty. They have to play it safe. They did get good intel, however. Cassie Nord comes to the hangar. She is mad that Nix didn't allow her to sortie. She is a cyber new type. Nix's subordinate tells her to be quiet, and she threatens to rip off his nuts. In the Hecate mess hall, Talbot is getting frustrated that they can't figure out this mystery. Krokata comes to join them. He thinks that it is a ploy by Axis from the outside. He isn't into Valley emotionally manipulating people to go against Talbot. For him, it really comes down to trusting Lieutenant Robinson, and it seems he trusts them. Kokata says that after she passed out, Robinson was desperately calling out to them. Rasaid's death seems to be really messing with him. Lycus approaches Robinson. He seems to be getting too close to Leto and Talbot. He says that this isn't going to go over like last time. Lycus says that she will simply cover it up again, but he won't be a part of it this time. He doesn't care if Lycus is Basque's favorite. They head to the hangar where Leto tells something to Talbot that she didn't want to say in front of Kokata. Essentially, she believes that she may have solved the mystery, but she needs Talbot's help with one more thing before they uncover the truth. 1 hour left until the vote begins. Everyone is on the bridge. Leto has figured it out, and she wants to announce to everyone on this ship what she is about to say. Lycus humors her, which seems to be the captain's only character trait. She's charmingly curious. Yeah, but what does she do? She's charmingly curious. Valley thinks that this is just a waste of time, but the captain allows Leto to speak. She rules out that Rasaid probably wasn't shot from the outside of the cockpit. She also rules out that there isn't someone hiding inside waiting to murder. The logs show that the cockpit was opened and closed 3 times. Once when the body was discovered, second when Lieutenant Rasaid boarded, and third is from the mysterious log 11 hours prior. She believes that someone installed the device to kill him, some gimmick that remotely kills someone. From entry to exit, it was 6 minutes and 20 seconds. It is plenty of time to set up a trap, and she will show them. They head to the Hecate hangar. In software development, depending on your development cycle, each cycle produces what is called a build. This allows testers to isolate a bug much easier. They are loading up the same build that was on the Gundam when Rasaid was murdered. Valley is going out in the Gundam. Talbot monitors on his end. Valley is creeped out sitting where a dead man once sat. After 5 minutes of orbiting the ship, he returns to the deck. When he returns, he is shot, but with a paintball round set up by Leto. He saw the monitor showing someone with a gun, just like Leto. She shows a device that hangs below the cockpit and then retracts under the seat. It hangs due to an electromagnet. This gun essentially functions the same way as the Gundam's ENCOM system functions. Robinson wonders how it knows to fire upon returning to the hangar. She opens up the device to find a gun connected to a microprocessor of the sorts. She says it's remotely triggered. However, Leto and Talbot used Haru for this experiment. She says that this method has one flaw. It leaves the evidence in the cockpit, and getting it out requires one to retrieve it quickly. She says that the one who killed Rasaid was Robinson Schrager. He was the first one at the cockpit when Rasaid's body was found. He used the shock of his death to quickly grab the device. Robinson said he entered because he was worried about Rasaid. Without real evidence, none of these accusations matter anyways. She says that the commander made the blunder in front of everyone, and she is going to let the Gundam expose this murder. Everyone wonders what she means by this. Talbot is going to hook up Haru to the Gundam to access video logs. Remember previously we discussed that Rasaid was trafficking drugs to Titan's commanders, but the evidence was destroyed, and with his death, it led to nothing. During the battle, he went out to help, so she placed cameras on their mobile suits. She suspected something was up the entire time. After this, he feigned his anger to help dispose of the evidence. But he said the words "closing your eyes" means giving up, no matter the horrors on the battlefield. Those who keep theirs open survive. Robinson slips and shows his true self. Lie, dude. Lie a little longer. Leto says, what if Rasaid wasn't trafficking drugs? What if it was actually Robinson who was running the show? It seems Rasaid was blackmailing Robinson. He had to retrieve the records from Rasaid's room. That is when they ran into Leto. She was also gathering data on Rasaid as he was sexually harassing her. She believes she has enough with the cameras, the logs, and the first-hand evidence of being at the room, and this data collected by the data file to prove that it is Robinson. Leto said, I ain't getting blamed and proving my innocence by finding the killer. Robinson admits that this is all true, but it wasn't him. He says that Rasaid was a parasitic piece of shit that blackmailed his way to the top. In the past, we see Rasaid teasing all the evidence he has on Robinson. He also looks like he is forcing him to look at his nipples. I believe it's Federation standard to have your nipples covered, dude. Robinson says this is all true, but what if I said I didn't kill him? Leto still needs to prove one thing, but Oma, in a wave of fury, lunges at the commander with a knife. She slices at his arm and then goes for the stab. But Robinson parries the knife and does a nice shoulder roll. He grabs the knife and holds it to Oma's throat. He now has a hostage. Okarinu points a gun at him. He throws Oma. No wait, Illuma. Have I been saying that wrong? He throws a Luma at Ocarinu and gets into the Gundam. He says that Ensign Leto is walking a dangerous path. He still denies killing Rasaid. Leto gets into the Pale Rider. The two begin grappling. Pale Rider is no match for the Gundam. She is knocked over. Robinson prepares to stab her with a beam saber. He says if they treat him like a lone wolf, then he will act like it. That is when he hears Rasaid's voice in his head making fun of him for thinking that he is a lone wolf. Imagine a dead guy in your head going, "Hey man, I bet you even wear those wolf with the moon shirts." This stops Robinson. Leto uses this opportunity to whip out the beam javelin and impale the torso. The attack leaves the commander bloodied and beaten. He looks up at Ghost Rasaid, calling him a fool. "Your stupid wolf shirt sucks." Leto gets out and tries to help Robinson. He says to beware of the real werewolf. It isn't him or Rasaid. He says to trust no one before dying a blood loss. They are debriefed over Robinson's final words. Most just think it is a rambling of a dead man. Leto doesn't understand why he would choose to go out of his way if he really were the killer. Why would he not just get rid of the evidence instead of risking being spotted throwing it out in space? Captain Lycus says he was trying to sow dissent amongst them in his final moments. Now that their commander is gone, the captain wants to make Leto the new mobile suit commander. After talking to Leto, she asks of a favor of Ocarinu. Leto is mad because her detective skills got Robinson killed. He was backed into a corner at the expense of saving herself. However, Talbot thanks her, as everyone would have voted for him if not for Leto's evidence. He wonders why she did it. She says it wasn't logical. It was like how new types seemed to feel. It was intuitive, and she felt like he was a good guy. There is some blood on his shoulder. He needs to rest after all of this. Krax Nix is meeting with a man who goes by Vukadlok of a mysterious Ayug envoy. He or she is wearing a mix between a Kamen Rider and Darth Nihilus mask. He tells Krat that the Gundam data they are seeking comes from the Gundam Mark IV, but that is merely appearances. Underneath is a werewolf. Meanwhile, on the Hecate, Talbot laughs menacingly. He is the real werewolf. Leto's intuition was completely wrong, and Talbot plans on using that to his advantage. UC-0085, a forgotten mining resource satellite. Someone is in a petite mobile working on maintenance. They're so poor, this guy can't even afford a normal suit. All of its resources have been stripped, and nothing but a husk remains. At least Luna 2 was repurposed into a military base, but there are many dead asteroids out there like this one. He is doing work for his father who is sick, so he covered his ship. For him, this is the cosmic backwater. Life is a constant struggle, but they get by. He heads home to his sister Lindsay. She asks if he found any Gundam parts. He didn't, but he brought her a gift for her birthday. It is a mobile suit control stick. In her own words, she is very much a Federation mobile suit fangirl. Even though her gift is effectively junk, she loves it nonetheless. She even feels the need to pay him back one day. That's a well-raised kid. Aw, you're gonna kill this kid. While eating dinner, the father mentions that there was an outbreak on Colony 30, Side 1, resulting in millions dead. Of course, this is the Colony 30 incident being covered up as an outbreak. The father thinks that the Federation is probably happy that the Space Noid population is dwindling. He blames it all on the Zabis and Xeon for stirring up trouble. Lindsay says she will pay back her brother by helping with work. This now turned into her older brother having to teach Lindsay, which is just more work for him. The boy doesn't seem to relate to his father's anger of the past. He lives in the moment, and in that moment, Lindsay is happy. Later, we see brother and sister out in space while the father watches from the control room. Suddenly, an explosion goes off. Something hits some junk, which happened to contain some landmines. This causes Lindsay to get flung out into space. It was a dumb move, but the brother risks his own life to save his sister from drifting off forever. Out in the distance is a squad of mobile suits. It is Rasaid and Robinson. Robinson says, "What the hell, dude? Why are you shooting civilians?" Rasaid says that all space noids are terrorists. Captain Lycus says, "Ugh, this is annoying. Now I guess we gotta kill them." Rasaid and Robinson move in and lay waste to the asteroid, killing the boy's entire family. When he wakes up, he is on the Hecate infirmary with Haru sitting next to him. Haru says, "I know that you hate the Titans and want revenge. I could help you." Haru fabricates documents and a new identity for the boy. He will now go by the name Makuma Talbot. Also, he had black hair until he woke up and he was blonde. Did Haru give Talbot a quick dye job? Talbot isn't even a soldier. He faked his identity simply to get revenge on the Hecate crew. He didn't understand his dad's pain until he lost his entire family and then went, "No, I get it." He has his eyes set on Captain Lycus. But now that Leto is starting to ask questions, he has to focus on killing her next. Mineral Resource Satellite Base. Bali High is an abandoned resource satellite. The Hecate is hiding out here. Their supplies are getting low. Everyone's morale is at an all-time low. The doctor is too carefree and tells everyone not to worry, but they struggle to take that advice. Nurse Merritt was Talbot's childhood friend, but they haven't seen each other in 10 years. Luckily, she doesn't realize that he isn't the real Talbot. She says, "Hey, you remember that thing from our past?" Talbot wonders what she is talking about. That is when the cook, Lozère Garnet, comes in. He shouts out Pierre-Nic, which looks like an Eastern European dessert. Talbot lies and says that he hasn't tasted that in ages. Garnier is planning on joining the Resource Recovery Survey team. They're planning on scouting out any resources that may remain on the satellite. He needs to see if there are any ingredients worth salvaging. They mention that it has been a while since they have had anything sweet. Garnier says that there are some sweets designated for the captain, but she is more of a drinker and stays away from them. This excites everyone. The team has one spare Barzum, so they are using it to patch up the Pale Rider. After the attack from the Gundam, Leto is going to be piloting the Gundam now. Talbot wonders what is on Leto's mind. She says this still isn't over in her Sherlock Holmes voice. She remembers Robinson's last words being, "Beware the wolf." Illuma comes over to the two and thanks Leto. She says this is the start of a beautiful friendship, and then she runs away. Leto wonders what that was all about. Given the circumstances with Robinson, they swept the incident of Illuma trying to kill him under the rug. While alone, Illuma calls Leto her unexpected savior. That's ominous. The scouting mission turned out to be a whole lot of nothing. Garnier says that the captain has a taste for his cooking. They seem to go back a long ways, way before the military. He plans on making a meat dish for the crew. Are they about to eat Robinson? Captain Lycus tells Ocarinu to look into every crew member's history. She says something sinister is going on. This is bloodlust. It seems to be exactly the reason why Ocarinu is here to begin with. Talbot tells Garnier that they may have found something that might be of interest to him. Haru hacked into the satellite and found a pantry. They go to investigate and find some supplies. Garnier hears a noise and goes to see what it's about. The art direction is minimal here, so he was either set off by a trap or was shot, causing a vacuum to pull him out into space. A petite mobile shoots out a grappling hook and grabs Garnier. It is Talbot. He saved him from flying out into space. But Talbot knows he was once a pilot. He says he is going to hang him. Talbot tells Garnier that he lived in an abandoned asteroid very much like this one, when Lycus ordered its destruction. We saw in a flashback last episode that Rasaid and Robinson was a part of the mobile suit team at that time. Also on that team was Garnier. He realizes he is the one that truly killed Rasaid. He says that when Robinson and Rasaid died, they didn't know the cause of their death, or as he puts it, he wasn't able to show them the karmic irony of their sins. But it won't be the same for Garnier. Garnier says, finally. No, you don't seem to understand. Garnier has been burdened by the incident with Talbot's family. It tore him up so much so that he stopped being a pilot and became a chef so he could create. He isn't looking for forgiveness. He just wants relief. And it seems Talbot is about to give it to him. Talbot thinks to himself, "Aw man, it's not fun when you want to die." That is when Leto comes in and saves Garnier. Talbot is reminded of his sister Lindsay. He helps pull Garnier and Leto out. While catching their breath, Talbot skin talks to Garnier, saying, "You better keep your mouth shut or I will stab you." Leto is happy. Losing Garnier would be an even greater morale drop. She also says that they could learn a lot from an ex-pilot. Garnier and Talbot both wonder how she knows that. She says his signature dishes come from Federation bases, and she had an intuition. Talbot thinks that he probably should have killed both of them when he had the chance. A loud noise goes off. What's up with all these loud noises? You're in a spacesuit, in the vacuum of space. Something is moving outside. They head back to the ship. Leto and Talbot head back, while Garnier takes the petite mobile. Talbot thinks that he is screwed and is about to be outed. Outside, Valley Kidu is in the Pale Rider when a blinding light comes speeding towards him. A beam blast disables his unit. Lycus is informed on the bridge. Kokata is engaged with a mobile armor. This is the Gazzarello. The Gazzarello is a mobile armor originally featured in SD Gundam G Generation and is developed by Axis. This was a competing project alongside the Cubli and seems to be a combination of the Elmith and the Gaza series. After the Cubli won the bid, this unit fell into obscurity. It has a Psychomu system. Weapons include a megaparticle cannon, transporter bits, beam sabers, and the heat natas, which are claws. This doesn't conflict with Char's deleted affair, but it is absolutely ignored during the development of the Cubli, which is where we got a lot of Cubli retcons. The pilot is the cyber new type Cassie Nord. She fires the transporter bits. Kokata is overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Leto launches in the Pale Rider, rocking the Barzum head. Cassie wants the wolf to come out and play. Leto tries to counter the bits. She takes out some, but one hits her shield. She tries to flee, but is instantly surrounded. Last episode, Kratnix met with Vukadlok of the Ayug. He is starting to doubt him. Krat mentions that Axis's cyber new type tech is far superior, but he says that Axis is a cold place and these burdens should have been put on his generation, not the children. While the fighting happens, Talbot thinks that if they become prisoners of war, his hands will be tied. Talbot says that he is going to help out. Everyone thinks he is crazy because he is just a mechanic. He wants Merritt to deliver a message. He flashes back to his sister. He wants to know why she likes the Gundam. Lindsay says that it breaks through the walls of impossibility and injustice. He thinks how wrong Lindsay was. It is just a tool and an instrument of war. He gets into the Gundam with Haru. Haru injects him with something called Garul's Fangs. A Garul is closer to a lichen, it seems. Leto is starting to understand the bit's movements. The Pale Rider tries to close the gap, but the mobile armor grabs her with the heat natas. That is when the Gundam comes in and slices through the claw arm. Talbot tries to lure the mobile armor towards him. Ocarina wonders who allowed an unauthorized launch. That is when Merritt contacts Lycus. They wonder what a non-combatant wants with the bridge. She says she has a message from the Gundam pilot. The Gundam lures the mobile armor into the hangar of the satellite. They are now in tight quarters. She is once again surrounded by the bits. That is when a beam blast hits the Gazzarella from the outside. It is the Hecate. The message seemed to have been the exact coordinates for Lycus to aim at. Even Lycus is amazed this worked. The Gundam takes one of the mobile armor's beam sabers and impales it. Kratnik says that everything is falling into pieces. Everyone back on the Hecate are amazed by Talbot's skills. This is not the time for him to let his guard down. He wonders where Garnier is. He happens to be in the kitchen. Now that Leto saved him, he has a new lease on life, and he feels his sins have been lifted. We flash back to the incident 2 years ago. It seems that Garnier was the one who killed Talbot's dad. He is ready to treat Leto to that meat dish he promised. Talbot heads to the kitchen thinking how he has to kill Garnier. But once he gets to the kitchen, he finds Garnier's head severed from his body. He has been murdered. There is another murderer on this ship that isn't Talbot. But who could it be? And that will do it for this episode. Every single person in this story is sketchy as hell and has every reason to be a cold-blooded killer. Lycus is throwing people and things under the bus. Illuma is trying to stab people one day and make friends the next, while Talbot plots his revenge. Now that we know that Talbot is the werewolf, we're shifting our focus on the bigger conspiracy at foot. But what are they trying to hide? And who is they? We are completely caught up in this manga. It has a slow release schedule, so it will be some time until we return to this. Talk about a cliffhanger. Let me know your thoughts on this manga so far. But that will do it for now, new types. Remember, if you're gonna murder someone, there's really no value in telling them why. It's all ego on your part at that point. Peace.